This is a documentary on the great Chinese explorer Zheng He, made by Sophia, Hannah, Anvi, Liam, Grace, and Olivia.
This documentary will provide information on his birth, background, his 7 voyages, his death, and after his death.
Chinese explorer Zheng He was born in 1371 in Yunnan, located in the foothills of the Himalaya Mountains. At birth, he was given the name Ma He, and although the majority of his ancestors were Persian, he was a Chinese Muslim when the Ming Dynasty took over. When Zheng He was 10, the Ming army conquered his province, killing both his father and grandfather while he had been taken captive.
After being captured, he was castrated and he became a eunuch. He was forced to be a servant and worked in the household of the emperor's 4th son, Zhu Di. He later distinguished himself as a soldier and trusted advisor to Zhu Di. He continued to grow close with Zhu Di, who later took the throne. After becoming emperor, Zhu Di declared him the director of the palace servants and changed his name from Ma He to Zheng He.
The Ming emperor at the time, Yongle, chose Zheng He to be the commander-in-chief of one of the largest naval fleets in history until the First World War. In 1403, the emperor ordered construction of new trading ships and warships. Around the early 1400s, Zheng He led the largest ships in the world in his expeditions to explore lands around the Indian Ocean. These trips showed everyone the excellence of the Chinese in shipbuilding and navigation. This voyage also brought many goods to Indian ports. The goods brought were large in quantity, and it took them 3 months to price. Zheng He's first voyage was between 1405 and 1407. This expedition was composed of 317 ships and approximately 60 huge treasure ships. Along with thousands of sailors, builders, and repairmen, on this voyage there were also soldiers, diplomatic specialists, medical personnel, astronomers, and scholars of foreign ways, the majority being Islam. Throughout his journey, his fleet stopped in Champa, which is now central Vietnam, and Siam, which is today Thailand. They also stopped on the island of Java to different points along the Malacca Straits. Zheng He then proceeded to go to their main destinations, Cochin and the Kingdom of Calicut, which was on the southwestern coast of India. On his return from the first voyage, Zheng He came across a pirate uprising in Sumatra. He brought the pirate chief, who was an overseas Chinese, back to Nanjing for punishment.
Zheng He's second expedition started in 1407, using a total of 249 ships. This second expedition visited Thailand, Java, Aru, Azek, Coimbatore, Callao, Cochin, and Calicut. Zheng He sent 68 ships to the court of Calicut for 4 months to attend the inauguration of King Vasco da Gama. After completing his second expedition, Zheng He returned to China. Zheng He's third expedition set off in 1409 with 49 large ships and 30,000 troops. Zheng He visited many of the same places he visited in his first exhibition, stopping at Champa, Java, Sumatra, Ceylon, Cochin, and Calicut. Zheng He also traveled to Malacca and Ceylon, which are places he had never been before. During his third voyage, fighting broke out between his forces and those of a small kingdom. Zheng He acted swiftly and captured their king, bringing him back to China, concluding his third voyage.
Zheng He's fourth voyage began in 1413, where he visited many of the same sites as his previous 3, but also Hormuz, the Arab port at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. He returned in 1415 after stopping in Sumatra, where he fought on the side of a sultan, then brought the usurper back to Nanjing for execution. Zheng He left for his 5th voyage in 1417, and this was mostly just a return trip for the South Asian heads of states that accompanied him, and he brought them back to their homelands. He visited their homelands to present their tribute in the Ming court, then made his way back to China. But before returning, he ventured even further. First was Aden, the mouth of the Red Sea, then the east coast of Africa, in current-day Somalia, where he stopped in the city-states of Mogadishu and Brawa. Last was Malindi, which is located in present-day Kenya. Returning in 1419, Zheng He brought back many ambassadors from the countries he had visited. During his travels, Zheng He had returned to China with foreign, unfamiliar things. For example, he returned with zebras and giraffes from Africa. The sixth voyage of Zheng He began in 1421, where he and his ship sailed to many of the previously visited Southeast Asian and Indian courts, also stopping in the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and to the coast of Africa. There were so many stops because this was mostly to return the ambassadors that he brought back to China during the previous voyage. Less than a year later, in 1422, Zheng He returned to China. Although back in China, he sent his fleet to pursue more itineraries. Some of the 41 ships went as far as Sofala, located in present-day Mozambique. The seventh and final of Zheng He's voyages began in 1431, sent out by Emperor Xuande, the previous Emperor Yonggle's grandson. This final expedition had over 100 ships and over 27,000 men. It visited important ports in the South China Sea, Indian Ocean, Aden, and Hormuz. During their return in 1433, Zheng He made 2 stops in China where granite would be inscribed with his deeds. Soon later, Zheng He died and was buried at sea. About 2 years after this final voyage in 1433, the new emperor ordered that these expensive expeditions end so that they could use their money to defend against the Mongols on land. This led to Zheng He's extravagant ships to just rot in harbors.
After Zheng He's final expedition and his death, the journeys were ordered to come to an end by the emperor. By the early 20th century, the Chinese recognized the importance of Zheng He's journeys and the roles they played in developing relations between China and Islamic countries. Ultimately, Zheng He is shown to be a very significant and influential explorer. It is important to remember where he had started and how impressive the outcome was. From being captured and becoming a servant to leading the largest and most advanced fleet the world had ever seen.